Have you ever noticed how one generation says, back in my day, and another says, okay, but hear me out? And somehow both think they're completely right. Why does your grandfather think hard work means never taking a sick day? Your parents think stability is everything. Your younger cousin thinks quitting a job for mental clarity is a power move. It's not random. It's psychology. Today, we're diving into the psychology behind every generation and why we think so differently. First, let's understand something important. People aren't shaped just by age. They're shaped by the world they grew up in. The events, technology, economy, parenting styles, all of it wires the brain in subtle ways. Let's start with the silent generation and early. Boomers. These were people raised around war, economic uncertainty, and strict social structures. Stability wasn't optional, it was survival. When you grow up seeing scarcity, your brain becomes wired for security. That's why loyalty to one company for 30 years made sense. That's why saving every plastic bag also made sense to them. Success meant safety. Then came Generation X. Gen X grew up watching institutions fail. Political scandals, economic recessions, rising divorce rates. Many were latchkey kids, coming home to empty houses. That independence shaped them psychologically. They became self-reliant, skeptical, and allergic to corporate promises. If boomers trusted systems, Gen X questioned them. Then we move. 2 millennials. Millennials were told, follow your passion. You can be anything. They grew up with the internet, but also walked straight into economic crises as adults. Imagine being promised the world, then handed student loans and a recession. Psychologically, that creates cognitive dissonance, a gap between expectation and reality. That's why millennials value purpose at work. It's not laziness, it's compensation. If stability isn't guaranteed, meaning becomes more important. And then, Generation Z. Gen Z has never known a world without smartphones. Social media didn't enter their life, it built their social life. Their brains developed with constant digital stimulation, instant feedback, and global awareness. They process information faster, but they're also exposed to more anxiety triggers. Climate change, economic instability, global conflict, all in their pocket 24/7. Psychologically, that creates hyper-awareness. They question norms earlier. They care deeply about mental health. They don't see burnout as a badge of honor. They see it as a boundary violation. Now here's where it gets interesting. Each generation thinks the next one is too soft or too stubborn. But really, they are responding logically to the environment they were shaped by. Think about it. If you grew up during scarcity, you value security. If you grew up during broken promises, you value independence. If you grew up during rapid change, you value flexibility. If you grew up online, you value authenticity and expression. None of these are wrong. They're adaptations. There's a psychological concept called formative years theory. It suggests that our core beliefs are shaped between adolescence and early adulthood. The world we see during that time becomes our mental blueprint for how reality works. So when someone says, kids these days don't want to work, what they really mean is they don't respond to incentives the same way I did. And when younger generations say older people don't get it, what they really mean is they were shaped by a different reality. Or a simple example. Imagine 2 people see job security differently. One says stay at one company. That's smart. The other says build multiple skills. That's smart. Neither is irrational. They're optimizing for different risks. Boomers optimize for scarcity. Gen X optimized for instability. Millennials optimize for uncertainty. Gen Z is optimizing for unpredictability and the future. It will create yet another mindset we'll all struggle to understand. But here's the key takeaway. Generational conflict isn't really about age. It's about psychological survival strategies. When you understand that, something shifts. Instead of saying they're wrong, you start asking, what did they experience that made this make sense? And suddenly your dad's obsession with job security feels less controlling and more protective. Your younger sibling's insistence on work-life balance feels less lazy, more aware. We all think we're rational, but we're mostly reacting to the world that raised us. And here's the twist. In today's world, generations aren't separated by 30 years anymore. Technology changes so fast that mindsets can shift in 5. That means even within the same generation, people can feel worlds apart. So maybe the real skill of the future isn't being right, it's being adaptable. Because one day, someone younger will look at us and say, "Why did they think like that?" We'll probably say, "You had to be there." If you found this interesting, take a second and think, what major events shaped your teenage years? Because that might explain more about your beliefs than you realize. And the next time someone from another generation frustrates you, just pause. They're not crazy, they're conditioned, and so are you.